Hey guys, today I want to show you how to configure your USB ports on your Hackintosh. It's often referred to as the SSDT. I will show you how to do that with the incredible USBMap script. There's a lot of tutorials out there that kind of explain how to do it, but it's never quite straightforward. I find it's actually not that difficult once you figure out how to do it. But for me, it took me a few tries before I got it right. So I'm just going to demonstrate here what I do to make it work for me. My motherboard is a Gigabyte Aorus Master Z390. My CPU is an i9 9900. Not that it matters. But again, in my case, motherboard, Gigabyte Aorus Master. You can also find my guide how I set up my Hackintosh on GitHub. I'm going to put the link in the description below. So the first thing you're going to do before you get started, you are going to open Clover Configurator. And there's one thing here in the ACPI tab that you need to add. So you need to add two patches that I didn't have in my build originally. And here they are. So you go here, list of patches, and change EHC1 to EH01. So that's going to add it. And then change EHC2 to EH02. And I also believe that you need to have XHCI to XHC and XHC1 to XHC. So just make sure you have that in place. The other thing you're going to have to do, so in my case, I had excluded here the USB port HS14. This is with USB inject all. That's a kext that allows you to inject all the ports. I had to disable that port because it is the Bluetooth Wi-Fi adapter on my board, and that adapter is not compatible with Mac OS. So I just didn't want it to actually be enabled or try to load or anything at boot up, so I'd excluded it. However, for this demonstration, I'm just gonna re-enable it to show you exactly how to discover ports and how to configure it all. One thing also you need to to keep in mind, you need the USB inject all kext installed. Let me just pull up my EFI. Just give me 1 second here. All right. If you go in Clover, kext, others, here you can see USB inject all, so that's important. You need this kext. The other thing that I had here was, I forget where it is exactly, kext patches. Yeah, so I have this thing where it's like port limit increases for different versions of Mac OS. This patch will change with every macOS version, so it's quite annoying. And I'm pretty sure that the patch I have right now actually does not work with the version of macOS I'm using, which is the latest as of January 18, 2019. So I'm going to remove all these patches. We will not need them. And what we're going to do here is actually bulletproof for the future. It's just going to keep working forever, regardless if you upgrade your macOS. All right, so now that I have everything in place, I'm going to reboot my computer, and I'm going to come back and show you how to get going. So the next thing you're going to have to do here is to get the USBMap script. But before you do that, I would encourage you to disconnect everything from your computer, every USB device you have that is external. So if you have, like a liquid cooler or something like that, you can leave it connected inside your computer. But anything that is not essential, external hard drives, whatever, just unplug everything. And I will also encourage you to use a USB keyboard and a USB mouse instead of trying to get Bluetooth to work right now. So you want to keep your system as simple as possible for the time being. So you're going to go on Google and look for this script here, USBMap. It's on GitHub. You can see here the URL. Pretty straightforward stuff. So on GitHub, you go there and you're going to copy and paste these instructions here. So copy, and then you're going to go in terminal or whatever you use and go somewhere. So I'm going to go on my desktop and I'm going to paste these instructions here. And basically what it's going to do is going to create a folder named USBMap on your desktop. This command here makes the USBMap.command file executable so you can run it. And we're going to run this file now. And this script will help us find all the USB ports on our computer. And we're going to go one by one in every port, plug something in and to determine what's what. For example, the port in front of my computer, what's its number? And one thing that's important to understand is that newer versions of macOS only support up to 15 USB ports. And on a typical modern motherboard, you will have much more than 15 ports. And also what's a bit tricky is that USB ports, USB 3 ports also count as 2 ports. So there's in one USB 3 port, you have a USB 2 port and a USB 3 port. And it's the same thing for USB-C ports. So it adds up pretty quickly. So you have to find a way to disable the ports that you don't use and only enable the ones that you want to actually use. It's not so complicated. I'll show you how here. So let's run this command. So you're going to do /usbmap.command. And here you can see the main screen for this script. Make sure you have USB inject all loaded. This is very important, otherwise it's not going to work. All right. So here the first thing you're going to do is you're going to discover your ports. And side note, if you have a Gigabyte Aorus Master Z390 and only that board, it won't work with the Elite or the Pro, only exactly the Z390 Master, you can actually go on my GitHub repo. I have a USB map of all the ports already done for you, so you don't have to discover all the ports one by one. It's going to make your life much easier. But I just want to show you how to do it all here, so let's get started. So we're going to do D for discover ports. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a USB 2 device, not a USB 3 device, a USB 2 device, and this is important. Anything works, like a thumb drive or a mouse or anything like that works. What you want to be doing here is you want to insert the device in every USB port on your board to determine what's what, which port is which number. All right, so I'm going to start with some ports on the front of my computer. All right. So you can wait 5 seconds. And here, cruiser dial. So this is HS9 is a port in front of my computer. Let's try the other port in front. HS10, that's another port in front of my computer. Now I'm going to go on the back of the computer. On the back, I already have a USB 2 hub connected. It's actually, in my case, it's actually not a USB 2 hub. It's the 4 USB 2 ports at the back of the motherboard. They're not 4 individual ports. It's like a virtual hub, if you will. So HS11 is for all 4 USB ports at the back of my board. So I know that. So you get the idea. You just have to do it one by one. It's a bit tedious, it's a bit annoying, but that's just the name of the game. Once you're done, so obviously take notes of what's what. You want to make sure you remember what HS1, HS2, HS3 means, etc., etc., etc. Once you know this, like once you know exactly what is what on your board, for these ports that show up here, you have to do something a bit tricky, and it took me a while to figure it out, but I'll show you basically how I worked around it, like the real way to do it and how I worked around it if it doesn't work for you. So you do Q, you're back to on the main menu here, and now what you want to do is you want to exclude the HS ports, and the HS ports means high-speed ports, and high-speed ports are USB 2 ports. This is going to free up 15 USB slots so that USB inject all can discover the SS ports, which are super speed ports, and super speed ports are your USB 3 ports. So all the HS ports are USB 2 and SS ports are USB 3. And what you'll notice is that you have USB 3 ports on your motherboard that are discovered as HS ports. But as I was saying, a USB 3 port, like a physical USB 3 port, is actually 2 ports. It's a USB 2 port and a USB 3 port. And the same is true for USB-C ports. All right, so you're gonna press H to exclude ports, all the HS ports. However, you want to keep your mouse and keyboard port enabled. Otherwise, you're gonna have issues. You won't be able to use your mouse and your keyboard. So in my case, my mouse and keyboard, they're connected to HS11. So I want to make sure to disable everything else but HS11. So I'm going to press 3 to disable 3, comma, disable 4. I'm going to disable 10. I'm going to keep 11 enabled. I'm going to disable 12. I'm going to disable 13. And I'm going to disable 14. All right. So only one port is going to be enabled when I reboot. Only my USB 2 ports at the back of my computer are going to be enabled. So now I'm going to press C to confirm the changes. And here, you're going to take this here and copy it to your clipboard, because we're going to use this. All right, now put in your password, and it tries to write to NVRAM. I don't know why my NVRAM is working, but this didn't work for me. This just didn't do it for me. It did not exclude my HS ports. So I'll show you how to actually exclude your HS ports properly. So you're going to open Clover Configurator. Mount the EFI. Mine is on this drive here. Mount partition. Open partition. Then I'm going to open my config file. All right. Now in boot, here, where it says custom flags, you're going to paste what we just copied. So this is essentially, bypassing NVRAM. It's just saving into disk. So there's no issues with NVRAM and things not working. So we're going to do this, put it in as a custom flag. We're going to close Clover Configurator. And now we are going to reboot and be right back. So let's start our USBMap script again. The first thing we're going to do is we need to clear the exclusions that we had previously saved to NVRAM. So press C, type in your password, just to be safe. If you go to discover ports with D, you will notice the list of ports that is listed is actually different. So we see our HS11 port, that's the port that we included, and we'll see all the SS ports. And the SS ports are your super speed ports. They are your USB 3 ports. And what's important to remember is that each number next to SS, so for example, SS01, That means that it's the same physical port on your board as HS1. So SS01 goes with HS1, SS02 goes with HS2, etc., etc., etc. So this way you don't actually need to do the work to plug your USB device in every port, because we already did that work in the first pass. So if you've been following along, you took notes of all your ports. You want to remember which port is what on your board. Here you can see a list of all the ports I want to keep enabled. Essentially, I don't need HS1, HS2, and HS7, HS8, so the USB-C header and the yellow ports on the back of my board. I don't need that. I also don't need HS14, USR 1 and 2 I don't need. So this is the list of ports I decided to keep enabled. And if you count them, it's actually 15. Now we're going to go back in our USBMap script, and we are going to press P for edit plist and create SSDT.kext. This is where we're going to enable and disable different ports, and it's going to create our kext file to inject only the desired ports at boot up. Here I type the port number of ports I want to inject. So let's just enable them all to start. So I am disabling port 1, port 2, 7, 8, 14 is the next one we're disabling. All right, and now because I disabled 1 and 2, I also need to disable SS0 and SS02. I don't need user 1, user 2, so that's 15 and 16. I don't need 17 or 18. So I'm not using HS7 and 8. Therefore, I have to disable 23 and 24, which is SS07, SS08. All right. Now I can just press enter, and you can see here I have 15 ports selected. That's my maximum. I cannot go over 15, so we're good here. And here at the top, you'll see it says check EC, check USBX. I have it at yes. Just leave it at yes. That was the default. I don't know exactly what it does, but it works for me. All right, the next step is to create our kext file. In the past, I had tried to build the SSDT file. That didn't work for me. I don't know why. I was probably missing something pretty simple, but there is no reason that we shouldn't be using the kext file. It's just as good, does the same thing. So let's keep things simple and use a kext file. So let's press K to generate our kext file. All right, it generated a bunch of files. And now we're gonna copy those files to our EFI automatically. That's gonna make our life a little bit easier. Put in the password. All right, we're done. We have our new USBMap.kext file copied. Let's quit USBMap. Open Clover Configurator. Let's mount the partition that we need. All right, now we're going to go remove the boot flags we put in previously. We don't want that anymore. That's for USB inject all. We will be getting rid of that kext, and we want to make sure that our new kext file injects the ports that we need. The next thing to do is to go in our EF5 folder in Clover, kext, and other, and we will be deleting USB inject all. We don't want that anymore. That was just a temporary fix. to help us inject all the ports that are on our board. We don't want that. And now we can see here we have our new USBMap.kext file. That's the file that defines which ports will be available in macOS. Now we can close Clover Configurator, press OK to save. Now let's just reboot our system one last time. All right, so we are back. So now the last thing we have to do is just make sure that the right ports have been detected, injected, and that they're working. One thing I want to point out is that all the USBMap script does is that it creates a file in the scripts subdirectory, and the file is called usb.plist, and it's a standard plist XML type file, and this is the list of all the ports that the script has seen on your computer. All right. If you happen to have the same motherboard as me, which is a Gigabyte Aorus Master Z390, and only the Aorus Master Z390, not the Pro, not the Elite, needs to be the Master flavor, you can actually go on my GitHub repo and use my usb.plist file, which I generated. I named every single port that I have on my board. It's pretty clear what's what, and then you can just take this file and stick it in this directory here, the /scripts directory, and then all you have to do with the USBMap script is essentially just enable, disable what you need to have a maximum of 15 ports. So it could save you a lot of time instead of futzing around and trying to figure out what's what on your board. All right, so now we're going to use the USB command again. The first thing you're going to notice is that USB inject all is not loaded, which is exactly what we want. We do not want USB inject all anymore. We want to specifically inject the right ports, the ports that we need, because we need to get to a maximum of 15. Now we're going to go see what the script sees on our board. We're going to press D for discover ports. And here you'll notice something interesting. We have a different list now. So you'll see we don't have HS1, HS02, and we have some SS ports. So these are all the ports that we have specifically injected, right? These are all the different ports we have, and we have up to 15 ports, which is exactly what we want. I have things connected in 9 of the ports, so populated 9. So this is working. And just to prove that it's working, we're going to do a quick test with an external USB hard drive. And I'm going to show you that we're able to get USB 3 speeds, which is really cool. All right. I say it's really cool. It's kind of, I guess I get excited for nothing, but. All right, this is my time machine drive. Let's go. See, write speed's 130 megabytes per second. So if it was USB 2, you would get around 20 or 25. So that's a good indication. Yeah, it's working. Very straightforward. All right, so that's it, guys. I hope you liked this video. I hope this was useful. It's a bit of a different format than the typical text-based tutorials, but I hope it's going to help. Sometimes it's just easier to see it than to try to decipher a written guide. All right, take care. Peace.